YouTube, welcome back to my channel, Taylor Talks Tales. Today I have a book review for you. Very excited to be doing this one because I've been talking about this book on and off on my channel for quite some time. In fact, I think my very first video I ever uploaded, I mentioned this book, and also one of my lovely subscribers has been very eager for me to do this review. So Christine, shout out to you. This book review is for you, and I hope you like it. So, book I'm reviewing today is Kin by Kealan Burke, which I really enjoy this cover quite a bit. It's very simple, but I love the color scheme and how it just, I don't know, it's aesthetically pleasing to me. I'm going to read the back and we're going to get right on into this review. On a scorching hot summer day in Elkwood, Alabama, Claire Lambert staggers naked, wounded, and half-blind away from the scene of an atrocity. She is the sole survivor of a nightmare that claimed her friends, and even as she prays for rescue, the killers, a family of cannibalistic lunatics, are closing in. A soldier suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder returns from Iraq to the news that his brother is among the murdered in Elkwood. In snowbound Detroit, a waitress trapped in an abusive relationship gets an unexpected visit that will lead to bloodshed and send her back on the road to a past she has spent years trying to outrun. And Claire, the only survivor of the Elkwood massacre, haunted by her dead friends, dreams of vengeance, a dream which will be realized as grief and rage turn good people into cold-blooded murderers and force alliances among strangers. It's time to return to Elkwood. Alright, so this book, I picked it up back in October. I had heard good things about it, but I hadn't heard a lot about it, so I was in a Halloween and horror mood and decided to pick it up. My local library didn't have its own copy, so I ended up buying this off of Amazon, and I read it, gosh, in a day. Just almost practically in one sitting. I could not put this book down. It is very well written, and it is a wild ride. It is something that just, from the very first few pages, because this book is very descriptive and really good at painting the scene, you're just hooked on figuring out what's going on and, you know, getting attached to the characters. And I really appreciated with this book how it starts out with the event has already happened. So rather than a lot of books like this or movies like this where it's very kind of stereotypical, like they're going on the camping trip and then something happens and then the cannibals or the rednecks do what they're doing. It starts off with the event has already happened and Claire is walking down the street. She's lost her eye, she's battered and broken, and then she gets rescued by these two men who take her to a doctor, and then essentially it just goes from there. And I really appreciated that. I thought that was a really cool and unique twist, because really what this book is about is not necessarily like that event itself, it's about how everyone processes that event, and there's a huge revenge aspect to this book. And what's really neat about this book as well is it's multi-layered. There are a lot of characters, but it never feels like there are too many. It doesn't feel like it's ever cluttered. It's very distinct who you're following when, and you get multiple perspectives. So you have Claire's perspective, you have a doctor's perspective, you have one of her rescuers' perspective, you have the brother of one of her friends' perspective, and then you have the family's perspective. And wow, the family's perspective, they're the Merrills, and they are this clan of like very twisted religious people who live in the woods, and they believe it's their God-ordained duty to murder men and women, but murder them and eat them and use their body parts, and they're led by the two parents, Mama in Bed and Papa in Gray, and I really like those names. And Mama in Bed, her scenes are, oh my god, they will stick with you. In fact, there are a lot of scenes in this book that are going to stick with you, and that is something I appreciated with this book, is that it's very visceral and real, and the descriptions are so good. I went in with no expectations and I was just blown away. This is a 5 out of 5 star book for me, and it just adds a lot of depth to the sort of almost overdone, like, you know, rednecks in the woods attacking city folk. This brings a whole nother level to it. It's different than that. It really has to do with like processing trauma and revenge, and there also are a lot of morally gray characters, and the blend between the good guy and the bad guy, the protagonists and the villains, it kind of is a little blending at times. Like, there is one of the Merrill clan that I sort of almost, I mean, he's not a good guy, but at the same time you can kind of see why he was doing what he was doing, and when you get into his thought processes, you almost, you know, feel a little bit for him, especially growing up in this awful situation with the rest of his family. So Kealan Patrick Burke does an amazing job doing that. So I highly recommend this. It's beautiful at times, it's disgusting at times, it will stick with you, and also definitely, you know, all the trigger warnings for this, but I don't ever think it's gratuitous. Everything violent and just extreme adds to the story because it's an intense story, and it went places, and I appreciated that, because sometimes I think with books you think something's going to happen, but they don't go there because they're too scared to, but that doesn't happen in this book. Like, there are definitely a couple scenes where I was like, whoa, and I appreciated that because I'm a horror fan. I like to be scared, and I like to be disgusted, and I like to have this reaction to things that I'm reading in the book, and I did get several instances of reactions in this book. And so I highly recommend it for horror fans. Just know that it is pretty graphic. So if you're looking for that, this will be a great book for you. But if you're a little bit more of a sensitive reader and you haven't really read horror before, I suggest checking something else out. Baby steps, maybe read some Stephen King. I'm not saying Stephen King's basic, I just mean, like, you can read some of his stories and not be like, whoa, you know, totally traumatized until you work your way up to something like this. But it's great. I loved it, and I could definitely reread it again because it's a story that's very, very powerful, and especially with Claire and her processing a lot of things that had happened to her, it felt very real to me. And I think also with the brother, I think his name's Finch, but I'm bad with names, so I'm gonna have to look that up, but I think it's Finch, and his trauma just from being in the war and then coming back and finding out that his brother's gone and dead, was also, like, very impactful to read as well. So if you're looking for something fun and you've got the stomach for a more intense book, not even just for the physical violence and the gross descriptions, but just, you know, darker subject matters, if you're up for that, this one is awesome. So go check it out. I'll link down to the Amazon page where I bought this from, down below. But seriously, this is really good. It is, I think, the best book of this type I've read. Brother was very good as well. I really appreciated Brother, but this one, it's a little different. And I feel like if I had to pick between Brother and this book, I would pick this one over Brother just a little bit. I think mainly because it's just a very complicated and multi-layered story, and I really appreciated it, and just how I really could not put this book down. And it also got me through, when I was in the fall, I was unemployed after getting fired from my job in a very awful way, and so I was a little bit depressed, and this book kind of kept me through for a few days, and so I really appreciated that. So this is another reason why I love this book, but definitely go check it out. You will not be disappointed. So thank you so much for watching my review. Please comment, rate, and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later. And stay healthy during this time. We will do okay. Trust me. Just wash your hands, stay inside, and you should be good. Happy reading!